Hello everybody and welcome back. Today's block is the Grecian Square, and it is the final block in my Delightful Sampler. So it is going to require fabric A. I chose this one. You need two 5-inch squares, and fabric B is this one. You need two 5-inch squares and four 2.5-inch by 4.5-inch rectangles. C is this one, also four 2.5-inch by 4.5-inch rectangles. And D, you need one 4.5-inch square. That's our middle. So we're going to start by making half square triangles. We're going to take our 5-inch pieces and lay them right sides together. And I have already drawn my line, but to do that, I just used this ruler and laid the yellow, the middle on it, corner to corner, and drew a line on either side, and then also just a hair on the inside of each of those. So I'm going to, it's fraying already, I'm going to pin it. I have already done some of this, that's why you're only seeing part of the pieces. So I'm just going to pin it because we're going to do our next step too. Lay it to the side, and then you're going to take all your rectangles and match them up into sets just like that. So we're just going to fold that over and also write down on it. And now let's head over to the sewing machine and sew these pieces. I'm not even going to take that off. I'm just going to spin it around and I'll start that, and then I am actually going to pull my pins out and cut my starter off. I'm going to grab this and go ahead and we're going to sew it. I've got my pieces over here. I have cut for my other quilt I'm going to make, and I'm just going to sew those as my whatever you call it, my starter and ender. Okay, so my camera shut off in the middle of it. I trimmed my other two half square triangles, and I'll show you how to do that on a different piece. I cut them wrong at first, so I'll show you how to trim that there. Let's do that first. So you're going to trim that. Now those are going to be trimmed to 4.5 inches. This one, however, will be trimmed to 3.5 because, again, I cut it wrong, and, well, I had to redo it. So we're just going to, you lined up, I'm sorry, I'm not even talking you through it. You line up the diagonal there, and you want to make sure there's some hanging out over, again, this is 3.5, but those are going to be 4.5. So you want to make sure there's some hanging over the 4.5-inch line on both, or all four sides. Then you'll spin it around, and you'll line up your diagonal and your 4.5-inch point, and that'll line up the lines on either end, and you'll just trim that off. So that's how you'll do your half square triangles. Now, you also missed the part where I laid it out. I already had this one done. And then, see, I had cut it wrong, so then I had to piece together to get the parts I needed. Not too thrilled with it, but it is what it is. My mistake. So I ironed the top and the bottom to the outside, and I'm ironing the middle to the inside. And I realized you missed the part where I laid it out, or to sew in the rows. But this is what it'll look like. You're going to have your half square triangles on the outside, all with the gray pointing in, or whatever fabric you choose for that, pointing in. Your block pieces The gray will be on the outside. So all of your white pieces will face the middle. And I did sew it into rows again. I'm sorry, my camera cut off. So now we're just going to sew our rows together. So, oh no, I'm going to iron this way. It doesn't matter how you iron it. You just want to make sure you do them opposite, because then your seams will nest. And it'll give you a better points, better connection on them, because they will just fit together beautifully. Pin at all my seams and pin at the beginning. And then I'm actually gonna flip this open and flip this one up, and then I'm going to spin it around, and I'm going to pin that side too. This side too. Oh, I gotta iron this opposite. Because I want them to nest. And they fit together nicely. So I'm also going to add sashing and cornerstones to this. Let me know if you want me to film that part, or at least part of it. I probably wouldn't film the whole thing, but I could maybe film some of it to show you how. I still have to cut those and stuff. Now I am going to just pull this out and spin it around to do the other side. So I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to have a long stretch of thread there, which I will cut now because I don't need that in my life. But I didn't want to use a different scrap of fabric or my blocks over here. We're going to call that my bonus quilt. I wanted to make it anyway, and then I don't have to use a bunch of starters and enders and scrap fabrics. Alright, I'm going to sew up another one of those blocks, and I'll meet you back over there in just a minute. Okay, now I'm going to iron these to the middle, just for fun. And there it is. It is called Grecian Square. I'm going to put that in my pins container, or sharps container. It's bent. So I want to get rid of it. There it is. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Sorry for the glitch in the middle. I hope you're making the block and loving it. And I will see y'all next time. Have a great day.